Well, hello everyone. It's John Vandermeulen again here at the National Encampment for 2023 in Nashua, New Hampshire. And we are continuing our video series of past Commanders-in-Chief being produced by the National Promotions and Marketing Committee. And today I'm pleased to have with us Danny Wheeler, who was served as our Commander-in-Chief from 1999 to 2000. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we'd like to ask you a little bit about, we are a hereditary organization,
Yes.
and we get into it because we discovered our ancestors who served in the Union Army or Navy or whatever they did. So I'm curious, tell us a little bit about your Union veteran ancestors. What units did they serve in? How did you discover them? That kind of thing.
Okay, Jerome B. Cully of Company E, Pennsylvania. He joined at the age of 41. He got wounded in Petersburg, and from there he was eventually discharged because of wounds.
Okay.
Okay. And how I found him was very unusual. My grandmother had passed away, and in the bottom drawer of her dresser was a letter from her brother in California that told about a Civil War soldier that was buried in a certain cemetery over in the far corner that was our ancestor, which would have been my great-great-grandfather. And I called the post office down there in that town, and I got a lady postmaster, and she went over and checked it, and he was there. Well, she also, at that time, being a postmistress, knew where the ancestors were to him.
Wow.
And she got a hold of them, and I went to their house with one of my grandsons, and they had went over, and there was a brush pile and everything. They took all the brush and stuff and put it over his grave. But one of the brothers went over, lived about a mile from there, went over and cleaned it all up, with flowers down and everything.
Yeah.
When I got there, I did his ritual over
Wow.
his stone.
Okay.
It was quite a day.
I'll bet.
But the best part is the people that she found for me were ancestors, cousins.
Isn't that something?
I had 6 cars go with me.
Did you?
It
My
was
goodness.
a marvelous day, I'll tell you.
I'll bet.
And I'll never forget it.
Indeed.
And I've been here a couple of times since.
Wow. So, isn't that fun when you make those discoveries? You just find out what your roots are.
And my family never kept family trees.
Did not?
And I've had to do a lot of research, and I have a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And hopefully my kids will want it someday.
Sure, absolutely.
You know? And I do have 2 grandsons that joined the Sons when they were old enough to do it.
Okay.
And they're still with us
Very good.
and still being as active as they can. You know, they got night jobs, and you know how kids are. They got to work. And but they do the best they can by me
Interesting.
and the Son.
So, speaking of the Sons, how did you discover the Sons? What draw you to us?
Okay, what drew me to it was I joined the 148th Company Volunteer Infantry out of New York,
Okay.
the oldest reenacting group in New York State. And we went all over, 125th, you know, and all that. Went East Coast all the way down through doing 125th battles. And one day I woke up and I saw a monument in my own hometown that had been vandalized 2 occasions.
Wow.
And the soldier was gone off the top, so forth. I had a buddy that had 4 cannonballs. It turned out they weren't cannonballs. There was a plunger one in them, and they would be roadside bombs. You know, they'd put them in a roadway, and when a wagon or something went over, it'd blow up. Ground charges. Well, one thing led to another, and when I went to get them welded into a frame to put up on top, I got a call. And then we discovered that there was powder in them. So I got it out. I got all the powder out of them. sweated a little bit doing a little drilling, but I did
Yeah.
it with a lot of oil. And we got the powder out of them. We tested them, you know, put a fire underneath them in the woods. They didn't blow up.
No.
And so I got the city of Ithaca, brought a crane and put them up on top for me.
Okay.
And at that time, we cleaned the monument, did all that, made it look good. And I got thinking, why am I playing a game? And I'm not against the SBR. I'm still with them,
Yeah.
okay? But I'm not active. But
For those who may
To
not know,
me,
the SVR is the Sons of
Sons of
Veterans Reserves.
yeah,
Reserves.
right, that is
Yes.
correct. My feelings were, is that why am I doing this on weekends when I could be doing something for the soldier himself? So to make a long story short, in 1988, I put a brand new monument in DeWitt Park, which they had wanted over 100 years ago and didn't get. So they built their own up in the city cemetery. It took me a year and a half to talk the city into letting me do that. And Dwayne Hills, a good friend of mine, actually did the cutting for me, sold me the stone, which was a 60-year-old stone never used, for $500.
Huh.
And we put it in the park. It's still there today. And we, Memorial Day, Labor Day, whatever, we go there as a unit and stand by our monument. And we're very proud of that.
I'll bet.
And so my feelings was I needed to do for the soldiers. And in the meantime, we got the new monument. I rebuilt the GAR monument up in the cemetery. I had no organization in the city. But through those, I was able to get enough to start the camp.
Wow.
Sydney Camp number 41.
Were you aware of the Sons of Union Veterans while you were doing reenacting?
Not for a long time.
Okay.
But the 148th is an SBR unit, Sons
Yes.
of Veterans Reserve unit.
And they are a part of the Sons of Union Veterans.
And in order to
yes.
stay with them, I had to become a member of the Sons, which was probably the best day of my life.
Sure, sure.
And I decided that's the way I wanted to go. You know, I'd spend weekends working on monuments and stuff, which was more important to me
Yes.
at that time, and it
Sure.
still is. We still go back and check them now and then, you know, make sure they're okay.
Well, the SVR plays an important role.
They do.
And
That's why I stay a member.
Indeed. Our core purpose is about remembering. They deserve to be remembered. And we do what we can to keep their memories alive so they're not forgotten.
I've been with the 148th 42 years.
It's a long time.
Been with the Sons 40 years.
Okay, so during your tenure as Commander-in-Chief,
Yes.
I'm sure you worked on, along with others, on various things. And what would you say comes to mind about your accomplishments?
Well, there were two that I'm very proud of today.
Okay.
One was they were having problems and going to go to court to get back the Grand Army of the Republic Hall in Gettysburg.
Okay.
And I went and talked to the people and made an arrangement. They signed it back over to us.
Okay.
Okay?
All
It was
right.
an historical society had it, and somebody assigned it over to them. I have no idea who. And I bet you it was 3 or 4 years they were fighting over it. And I went and I talked to them. We had stuff in there, and they allowed us to bring it back out of the basement, bring it upstairs. And they meet there now yet today.
Wow.
And the other thing
We're
was...
still taking care of it.
Yeah.
Very good.
The other thing is that I was real proud of, is that I was able to start a place for us to have headquarters
Yes.
in Pennsylvania, in
Okay.
Harrisburg,
Yes.
Pennsylvania. I talked to the original people at that museum when they were setting it up, and we got the second floor for headquarters,
Okay.
and I signed contracts for that. They're
Wow.
two real proud things.
Well, that having a headquarters is important for any organization.
Yeah.
And so-
Well, the headquarters up until that point was always the Commander-in-Chief's home.
Sure.
So by doing that, we got archives, we got stuff, you know, in file cabinets. We can look back at units, whatever we have to do.
Sure. Okay. Very good. So there's two questions more I have for you. And they have to do with memberships. One of the challenges that we face, and I'm curious to know what your take is on it, especially as you look for the future of our organization, is what can we do to attract more people to our organization?
You know, it's a hard question. And the reason I say it's a hard question is that young people today just don't follow our way of thinking. Or they're busy. I mean, I didn't join for a long time. I mean, I never thought about it until I got old enough. My kids were grown up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, I absolutely know what you're saying.
And I think maybe somewhere along the line, they'll wake up and realize they need something in their life.
You know, it's interesting you should say that, because I had a similar experience where it wasn't until after my father and mother had passed away, and they passed away in their 50s, their late 50s, that I started now appreciating wanting to know more about my family history.
Well, that was my problem once I found that letter that belonged to my grandmother.
Sure.
At that point, I wanted everything.
Yeah.
And I got stacks
Yep.
now, you know.
Yep. And so my instincts tell me that one day our grandchildren
I think so.
will get to the place where now they're interested. And if we can somehow preserve, make it closer to their fingertips so they can grab it when they're ready, that's a great gift to leave.
When I knew that my grandkids would probably carry this on was last year.
Sure.
They're 25.
You're passing
One's
the torch.
24 and one's 25. I decided that I wasn't going to pay their dues anymore. They would have to pay their own. I mean, they're old enough, they got jobs. And I went to both of them, and their reaction was, well, we can't come very often. We can't do this, so we're not going to rejoin. Well, I got a call a couple weeks later from the first one. It said, Grandpa, maybe we can only get together a couple times a year, but I want to stay a member, and I'll have my dues for you next week.
Wow.
The other one heard about it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just assuming. And he called me a week after that and said, Grandpa, I'll be right over with my dues. So they paid their own dues, which tells me they wanted to stay in. Last year, I work in the afternoons on a school bus with the kids. So I meet a lot of people in the driver's room, okay? And I brought in 7 members.
Wow.
But not one of them will come to a meeting, and they very seldom come to a function. And there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah. Well, we all experience, I think every camp knows that there are going to be a certain percentage of your members who just enjoy the certificate and where they can hang it on their wall.
Right.
That's the extent of the
metal.
involvement they want to do. But there are others who enjoy it and engage with it.
I had a buddy of mine that doesn't live too far from me, and we were on a committee for the town for 3 years, and he knew all about the Sons. I mean, you know me, and he just wouldn't join.
Yeah.
And I tried to get him to come in as an associate, but he wouldn't do it. Well, I got a call from him last year, and he met with his 92-year-old grandmother, who gave him a picture of his great-great-grandfather, who was in the Civil War, with everything that was needed to get him in. He joined. He's one of the best members I've got right now.
Wow.
He goes with me all over the place.
Wow.
You know, drop what he's doing, and away we go.
Sure.
And so you got to just keep doing it. You got to keep trying. You can't give up.
And giving other
That
people
one
an
person,
opportunity to join
and I've
you.
always said, if you can get one person to join the Sons,
Yeah.
they may have somebody in their ancestry,
Sure.
their kids or whatever, that'll join. But one is like getting 100 to me.
Yeah.
They're sacred.
Yeah.
We need them.
We do. Very good. One of the other challenges we have is how do we retain members? And I've heard it said that that's a tough nut to crack.
It's tough.
A certain amount of people, they get just preoccupied with other interests in their lives, and being involved in the Suns just kind of gets pushed to the back burner. You have any thoughts on that regard?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
One is that to retain members, you got to keep them interested.
Uh-huh.
Number one, we all know that. But what I have found is there's one way to keep a member. Is number one, these camps that hold 2 or 3 meetings a year isn't the way to go. You need monthly meetings. You need a place where you're going to meet all the time, so everybody knows where it is.
Right.
And the other thing is that when you're active, doing whatever you do, whether it's a parade, rebuilding a monument, rededicating a monument, whatever, okay? You're always going to have interest. There's somebody there that's going to be impressed, especially when you do a monument. And they're going to come out of the woodwork for you.
Sure.
That's how this whole thing started with City Camp 41 35 years ago.
My goodness.
And we're still going. We still meet every month. Matter of fact, when we started, we decided July and August we wouldn't meet. And it came down to a point where I'd get calls and decisions had to be made.
Yeah.
Okay? So I asked the members to vote 3 times to change the charter to every month. July and August we don't take roll call. Okay? So you can come. You're not penalized if you don't come. It works.
Yeah. Well, you're giving the camps the flexibility to do what works optimally for them.
Right. And by doing that, we've kept some pretty strong members. We've still got 2 of us that are charter members after 35 years. We had 3, but the other one moved way out west.
So do you, I know in my neck of the woods, I'm from the Lieutenant Commander Edward Lee camp in Houston. We do a lot of graveside ceremonies.
Right.
We do a commemoration on the Battle of Galveston, and at the grave of our camp's namesake.
Now we do.
Other camps, they really enjoy headstone restoration work, so that was really their focus. So camps have the flexibility to,
Right.
I mean, not to the exclusion of other things, but they find a sweet spot, if you will.
Well, that's what our camp does.
Yeah.
You know, I had a case where I got a call from a guy in Tennessee. Got me off the internet,
Yeah.
and he tried and tried and tried to get a stone for his forefather. But the government wouldn't give it to it because the name has been spelled 5 different ways, Cargill. And we have a thing with cemeteries, undertakers, stone makers, that they'll get a stone in that doesn't have it, spelling's misspelled or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. We're able to turn them over. We've got a place that will actually stone cut the other side for $100.
Wow.
So what we do, so I told him, I says, "You're sure you can't get a stone from them?" No. So I tried and I couldn't get it.
Uh-huh.
So we decided to make a stone. We had a truck at like 65 miles up to the cemetery. I had the daughters, auxiliary, the sons there to dedicate that stone. He came from Tennessee and brought his brother with him and his wives, and we had a great time doing it. And we were able to get that stone. He had a government stone at one point, but you couldn't read it. It was gone. But the government wouldn't give him to replace it.
Yeah.
So we replaced it our way. And we've done that 3 times.
Whatever it takes, these guys deserve to be remembered, and they deserve to preserve their stone. Absolutely.
But we'll get a call like from the Catholic cemetery saying, we got a stone down here. The family wouldn't accept it for one reason or another. Yeah, we'll come and get it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's a great deal right there.
It is, indeed. Well, thank you very much for coming in to talk with us today, and appreciated hearing your story. And those are just fascinating things to discover what happened in people's lives and what brought them into the organization, and eventually became the commander-in-chief. Wow, I mean, you know.
Yeah. I had 15 years as quartermaster afterward.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
All right. Very good. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
You bet.